Good day. Ira Epstein of Linn Associates with your SPDR ETF wrap-up, and this is for Tuesday, the 28th of July, 2020, just after 4:30 in the afternoon. Well, a mixed day. I was expecting a break today in the stock indices, and I got what I was looking for. QQQ, SPY, DIA, and if I step over here, you'll see, well, I don't have the last one here, but IWM would have been it. Gold was higher today. Silver playing games, if you will. Here's your IWM, by the way. I guess I should take that and put that here and move those there. I don't know how that got moved around, but I know how to fix that. And I'll get that done for you. Remember, strong Mondays, up or down. Strong could be a big break. That strength to the downside often result in reversals, especially in stock indices on Tuesdays. I'm not exactly sure how that works out on ETFs since I'm relatively new to that world of ETFs, but it probably follows the same thing because sectors are what make up most of the indices at the end of the day. When you take a look at the tech sector here, I still say you're caught in something of a trading range, 110 down to actually this break low right in here. And what's the market going to do? We filled a gap yesterday, and after you filled the gap, and I showed you this right through here, markets like to fill gaps. Filled the gap, and now it's pulled back. So when you go to the swing line, and that's where I head next to see what the trend is down. You have a pattern with lower highs and lower lows. That's a downtrend. To break the downtrend, you have to take out 106.97, yesterday's high. I believe that's 106.97, it is. If you do that, what's the importance? Well, when you put on moving averages, that's right up against that 18-day average. Any close that takes out 106.97 and closes over, let's say 107.08 is bullish. What do the bears want to defend? That whole area and not let that happen. If the market breaks further, possibly the 104.56, the Bollinger Band is their testing zone again. What's going to move a lot of these markets tomorrow? Well, we know that earnings are going on everywhere. I see them and you're going to see them. I think 40% of the S&P comes out this week in earnings. But it's going to be the FOMC announcement in large part. That comes out at 1 o'clock tomorrow, 1:30 in the afternoon. These are Central Time. The Fed Chair Powell will hold the press conference. It could ask a lot of questions. Look for him to talk about curve yield controls. In other words, what goes on if they're going to still consider capping what the yields can do on different targets that they set up. Then see what else he says with forward guidance. You got to have to listen what he's saying with COVID-19, the impact of it. There's some in Congress now, the Democrats, that want the Fed to suddenly get involved in the rights of different races in America. I'm talking the race of people. I don't know that that's their purvey, but who knows? We'll see what they do. Remember, Congress gives them the control at the end of the day. In the XLK, when we look at the market here, and you can see what it's doing, the slow stochastics are down, the trend is down, the bias is down since you're under the 18-day average, so the target's at 104.56. In SMH, a different world. You would think not, but it's a different world. You have a lower low and a higher high. There is no trend in this market. You seem to be caught right here in these Bollinger Band areas. We'll see if they narrow in. Momentum again turned down today as the market closed near the day's low. Look for the battleground to be where I've pointed it out each time. This 18-day average of closes, do you see how it's working there? If we come back here, you've gotten under an XLK, that number. You do realize you haven't hit a Bollinger Band on the downside since way back when. I know that that looks subtle to you. It isn't. That's a sign that something innately changed in the market. Keep that in the back of your mind. When we come over to XLI, you still have the embedded reading, but unless you gap sharply higher tomorrow, you're going to lose that reading and probably make a run back to the 70.47 level if the embedded reading is lost. That's what I'd look for. Let's assume the market can hold on here and not lose that reading. The resistance, 73.01. We did get up to, as you know, that upper Bollinger Band and that 200-day average. So the market owes you nothing in the embedded part. It got up to the resistance and it may lose it and have to rebuild itself at that 18-day average. You're in that program that I call that PIPE program, where you're going sideways with the Bollinger Bands. Sideways is just that. It's sideways. You're not doing much one way or the other. I avoid, when you get into these narrow bands, I avoid trading in that like the plague. I tell my paid subscribers that want me to put out recs, do nothing. Lower highs, lower lows in QQQ. If you hit the lower Bollinger Band here, like the XLK, you haven't hit that since March. That would be a sign again that something has changed in the tech sector. In EFA, the emerging markets, the pattern is one of lower highs, lower lows. The market is overbought, but is it trying to embed? As you can see, both numbers that make up the slow stochastic were over 80 today. They were over 80 on yesterday, not the day before. If the market's strong tomorrow, it's going to get an embedded reading, which then puts into play the upper Bollinger Band. We'll see. GLD, very surprised that the market stayed up today, but it did. Outside day up, in fact. If you take out today's low, be a bit nervous. You're probably going to get more of a correction. The embedded reading is fully at work. The market hasn't pulled back from under that Bollinger Band now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it's 6 days in a row, if I'm right, on a closing basis. Right there. Yeah. Pretty strong. Futures did the same thing. In fact, futures, I think, are 7 in a row. You rarely get that. You have to go counting to see it. Sign of great strength in these markets. GDX, embedded reading. That tells me as long as you don't take out today's high, which was 44.05 on pullbacks, I wouldn't be surprised to see the pros buying into that market looking for higher highs. I think it's too hard to guess what the TLT is going to do in front of an FOMC meeting. If you hear yield control, you can go one way. If the Fed says, well, they're nowhere near it, you can go another. I think that the smart money will be sidelined and come right in as they start seeing what the Fed is talking about. FXE, this is healthy action, back to under the upper Bollinger Band. Still an embedded reading, still bullish. There is a gap in the chart that I don't know if it'll be filled, but you'd have to get down to 109.39 to hit it. And from there, it's about $1 away. It could happen, and I would look to see good support if that gets filled. So you put it all together, you come up with game plans, and that's what I do every afternoon. Each afternoon at about 4 o'clock, for my paid subscribers, I go through and record what we call a Spider ETF video. It's where I say, I want you to buy here. This is where you sell. This is what your objective. Straight stop. 35 charts are covered now. I'll go to 40. I added BETZ yesterday, I believe it was. So that's in there, and I'm going to add 5 more, so you're up to 40 charts. Then on the weekend, I record, and I had a question on this today. Longer term trading instead of this in and out that I talk here. Go to the weekly charts. So each weekend, I put out and cover the same 35 charts with weekly charts only, and bring you up to date as to what you can do for longer term trading. Now, if we had a big move during the week, I would update in your daily video here, the Spider, and bring that chart up and bring you up to date on it. So I'll do my best to give you everything you possibly need. I'm Ira Epstein. To get more about this, go to our website under the word research. It explains it all. Pretty interesting package. Certainly not a lot of money, and that's the goal. That's what I want to keep it going at. I'm Ira. You have a good day.